their health and wellness vertical. They also have a great financial product called Skim Money. And then we have, I also sit on the board of Carbon 38, which is an international athleisure marketplace, partially owned by Foot Locker. I sit on the board with Foot Locker, and they have 250 plus brands, and it's been going great because everyone is buying stretchy pants right now, turns out. So I'm sure many of you out there are wearing your stretchy pants because like we can't see you and you want to be comfy, and it's like this whole new world of athleisure. So it's been great for business. So we invest in fashion all the way to transportation, and we like to get in early, seed, pre-seed. Sometimes we're the first institutional money in. We do lead. Not always, and we'll participate in Series A and Series B on occasion. And then just in terms of how I got started, and it's not traditional typically. I am a fourth generation investor and the first female. I didn't think I could go into venture capital because I was female, and my dad had been incredibly generous with his education, and all I knew was startups. I was, interning at startups. I was learning about technologies from an early age. But they say you can be what you can see, and what I could see was my mom was working incredibly hard raising 4 children, and my aunt was a very successful actress. So she was an actress in the 80s on a show called 30 Something. Her name's Polly Draper. And I was like, oh, as an 8-year-old, 10-year-old little girl, I was like, oh, that's what women do. That's a traditional job for a woman. She's an actress. So I always had in my head, like, well, women go into acting but all I knew were these incredible men in suits around me. And so I went into entertainment, had some success, was on a Nickelodeon show, and quickly realized that my heart was really in technology. And so I ended up combining these two worlds. And I created the first technology talk show. It was called The Valley Girl Show, really silly, totally ridiculous. And I was interviewing these incredible entrepreneurs, from Elon Musk to Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google. And after 2 seasons of this show, I realized that I'd only interviewed incredible men in technology, the men I had grown up around, and I was actually facilitating the problem. So I made an initiative to interview 50% women in tech. And they came. It was like I put out the female, like the Batwoman signal, and I was just getting all of these women in tech pitching the show to get exposure. And so, and in those early days, it was really difficult to get the kind of like the Meg Whitmans of the world because, candidly, they had to fight so hard to get to where they were at that point in time. They were not willing to kind of like lift up the women below. And I'm not speaking about her in particular, but like they were not willing to lift up the women below them. It was just like a different generation. So I had this new generation of women coming, and I was so grateful to the women of fashion technology. Jen Hyman from Rent the Runway, Rebecca Minkoff, the Gilt Girls. They came on my show and made it okay for then, Sheryl Sandberg to come on my show before Lean In, and all of a sudden it took off. It was like Mark Cuban and Jessica Alba and Anish Chopra, the first CTO of the United States of America, and it blew up. We took it to TV. We were nominated for an Emmy. So through that show, I started seeing these great early stage deals, and I was sending them to my dad at DFJ and people at Sequoia, and they were investing. They were investing in these deals. It was like paperless post, Facebook, no joke. And I was like, what am I doing? I should be investing in these myself, but I have no money. So, I was barely breaking even on the show. And so I was, media is such a broken industry. If any of you have solved it, please come back and pitch me, because I am looking for the new generation of media always. I'm very discerning when it comes to media-oriented investments. But so I was getting pitched often, and I'd sometimes say, you're a little early for the show. I love what you're doing. Can I write you just $1,000 check, $5,000 check on a good day, whatever I had in my bank account, and be a strategic investor and get you some media exposure? And so some of these deals did really well for me. One I sold for a 25x return on the secondary market in less than 18 months. And then I kind of had this track record. The show came to this like climax where, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Britt Marin, but she is amazing. And she runs Brit & Co. And at that moment, I had been doing the show for 5 years, and she was doing something, she had just started something similar. And she went and raised $5 million. And I just was like, I know this industry so well. I know it inside and out. I don't think I can raise money for this because I haven't quite figured out the business model of media, and like putting cash in content it's kind of like flushing it down the toilet unless you have a really unique business model.
It's
you
tough.
need someone else to sponsor the content. And so, or you need a great distribution technology or something. And so I hit this moment where I was pregnant with my first child. I had just gotten married. I had this crazy like entrepreneurial journey of like, we're turning around the show. I'm staying up 24/7 trying to like produce this thing. And my husband goes, so this is not normal. And I just want to say your investments are going a lot better than your show. I'm just like, just financially, I thought I'd point that out to you. And he's like, hate to be Captain Obvious. And so I kind of set the show aside and said like, let's solve media first. And I took my little track record. I raised fund one, pitched, 500 investors, as one does, closed like 50 of them. So for all of the entrepreneurs out there, the most frustrating thing is when someone comes to me and says, well, no one's investing in my company. And I'm like, okay, well, how many people have you pitched? And they say, oh, 8. Everyone said no. I'm like, okay, plan on pitching 100, because once you pitch 100, you will probably find someone who's interested, or you'll learn like after 20, you'll learn, okay, something's going wrong. I need to like rearrange my pitch deck or start asking for advice from some of the people who've said no and say, hey, what was your concern? What didn't get you across the bridge here? But so closed 50 and now we're on our second fund and things are going great. And that's where we are at Halogen Ventures. So that was the longest, most convoluted story for you, Kyle, but that was my journey.
It was great. I mean, I know the journey, so it's good for our audience to hear it as well, because it is so exciting. And I want to get to this article that you just wrote here in just a moment. But before we do, you're on Fund 2. Very exciting. Congratulations on that. You've made several investments. You've been an entrepreneur as well. What's maybe 1 or 2 pieces of advice, aside from making sure you pitch more than 8 investors, you would give to entrepreneurs who are out there looking to come either pitch yourself or to pitch investors? Because we've got pitch decks, we've got models, we've got mindset, the story. We've got so many pieces that go into what we need to have to come present to an investor. What advice, after seeing all these pitches, would you give to those out there listening today?
Well, I'll give you the 2 pieces of advice that going into COVID, I just swore by. And it's the reason that our companies are doing incredibly well right now. And I'm so grateful for that, because not everybody is doing quite so well. And we, the 2 things that I was really focused on was, one, I had a deal go bad maybe 7 years ago. It was called Move Loot. It was a YC company. It was the first company that you take a picture of your couch and they come and pick it up, put it in their warehouse, they sell it for you. And it just sounds like a dream, but I'm sure many of you out there already can see the issues. What ended up happening is they couldn't turn over the furniture fast enough. They needed enormous warehouse space. They had these long leases, and basically the company just imploded. And because I was writing much smaller checks at the time, I was really focused on capital efficiency. And so I was just kind of terrified of anything that touched retail, because I knew that was a very capital intensive business. And if I didn't have a real estate partner, it wouldn't make sense for a fund like mine to invest in this type of business. So I was really focused on and then, consumers started changing their behavior. We saw a lot more of these pop-up shops. I'm like really focused on the future of kind of consumer behavior and what we're seeing. And I'm a little terrified of retail, but that's been really positive for me. So like, think about, if you're in consumer, and maybe some of this is specific to consumer, but think about the future of consumers. Where are they focused on shopping? Where will they still gather? Is it around food? Yes, it is around food. where are they going to go? What kind of stores will they like? Is it more interactive? And really think about that. And in 10 years, what does this experience look like? And then the other thing I was really focused on, and this is more general, but when I talk to founders, we see just thousands of pitches every year. And when I talk to founders, I really love identifying founders who have that. Some people call it coachability, but I kind of call it, I call it like openness. So I'll throw them a curveball, like, true story, I probably threw out this curveball. Like, what if we ended up in an international epidemic?
Oh.
What would you do then? And you need to throw a curveball and see how they react. And the founders who say to me, no, we have to go this way. That's never going to happen. We're going to go this way. We're going to run into a wall. We have to go through the wall. There's no other direction to go. I mean, I literally say, it was so nice to meet you. Keep me posted, but like, this isn't a fit for us. And so I always was very focused on founders who I knew would be open to pivoting, who I knew would be open to like changing their business model if something didn't work, because having seen so many companies at this point, it never works the way you think it's going to go. Like, you have mountains to climb. It's not so simple, and that has been such a gift that I was focused on that, because our founders, I'm so impressed by, the first 2 weeks of COVID as a VC, you're like calling all your founders. My team and I got on the phone with like 60 founders, and we're sort of like, how are you doing? How's everything going? And, I'm like, this is so bad. This is going to be so bad. I feel like I can see the future, and it's awful. And it is awful. In a lot of ways, it is very awful. But what wasn't awful was how inspiring our founders were. They were so ahead. They were like, okay, we launched this new business model. We moved our entire thing online. We have a few new products. Like, people are into this, so we're going this direction. Like, listen to your customers, be open, be willing to try whatever, because as an investor, I want to invest in you at the early stages. Of course, your product, of course, everything else that comes with the company you're building, but ultimately it's you. And I need to know that if your bank account is empty, you're still going to figure out how to get me my money back, because I have people I have to pay back too. So just be open, willing to pivot, and know that it doesn't go in a straight line.
That's outstanding advice. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, those first 2 months of March and April for us here in the States, I mean, that was, first off, what the F just happened, and what does it mean? And then, to your point, you're getting on the phone with everybody. And the greatest entrepreneurs that I had the pleasure of working with as well, it was just the resilience of just nonstop, like, we're going to try this, we're going to try that, we're going to try this, we're going to hold that, we're going to just trying to figure out how to navigate everything. And we've had investors here on VCTV in the past few months share that that's now a part of their diligence process. When they speak with entrepreneurs, kind of running them through these scenarios of, okay, well, what would you do in this situation? How did you handle these things? How would you handle these things in the future, as this could be something else, maybe not as big or as small, but there's something else that could happen. How would you prepare for that? So that's a great point as well. And I want to switch gears. I've got a few big questions for you, but one I want to start with, if you're okay, is this article that you just dropped.
Yeah.
You released an outstanding article. If you haven't read it, to the audience, I will put the article in the show notes, and we'll share it out in social media. But as Jessie teased earlier in the show, she's looking for outstanding female founders. She does invest in males as well, but female founders in her show is what she saw. She saw this opportunity of what she wasn't doing, and seeing the opportunity to invest, and not only invest, but also interview more women, and wrote this outstanding article, which I'm definitely going to read the title of, because every time I have a chance to curse on live television, why not? It's called Investing in Women Isn't a Fucking Charity. And that is, you could feel the passion coming out of my voice when I read it, because it's very true. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're a great founder, there is a reason and an opportunity to invest in you, and you should have that equal right and opportunity as anyone else. But I'll pause my thoughts on it, because I have obviously a very similar thesis to you. tell us a little bit about this. What is the article? Why did you write this? Kind of how did this become, something you wanted to voice out there a little bit louder?
I know I'm not the only female who feels this pain as a female fund manager, as a female entrepreneur. And as a female fund manager, it's gotten a lot better. But, I go to these endowments and incredible LPs and family offices and pension funds to pitch my fund. And it's just a different reaction when they realize that we're investing in women. And often I'm put into this like charity bucket where they're like, oh, okay. And I think it's because we call it impact investing, and it is impact investing. Like, we're making an enormous impact on the economy, on so many other things. But I just, it's been years and I'm just so frustrated with the fact that people are putting us in this charity bucket. And it's not just men. Like, this is really not a man-hating article. And I love that you read the title, because it's been kind of funny just like watching. It got a lot more play online. You like post something personal. Like, I didn't put it in any publication. You post something personal on Medium, and it's like, it was kind of crazy. But I think a lot of people really resonated with this. And it's actually women also. So, I sat down with as many of the female billionaires in the world as I could. They're hard to reach, so like it wasn't all of them, but I did sit down with quite a few of them, and sat down with many women of high net worth. And I just want to bring this up because it's something I didn't fully dive into in the article. Men need to invest more in women for sure, but women, we were taught to give away money. We were taught to give it to charity. And so women, when I'll get really far along with these like very high net worth women, and I'll say sort of like, what's not getting you there? And they say, well, after 3-4 meetings, they're like, well, I just don't understand venture capital. I just don't understand it. And I don't want to make a bad investment. And I'm like, okay, well, not my plan. I plan on this being a great investment for you and making you a lot of money. But then they brag to me about how they're writing multi-million-dollar checks to charity and multi-million-dollar checks to whatever, nonprofits they believe in. And that is the most frustrating thing, because we are making an impact by investing in female leadership, by going off of the traditional Sand Hill Road, Silicon Valley path that I literally grew up on, and saying, I'm looking for women. One, the deal flow is insane. We saw 5,000 deals last year. I didn't know that was a lot. We were inundated. And that's because women are starting. There's no lack of women starting companies. And then, so like the opportunity is enormous. And then the data around investing in women is women raise half as much capital, according to a Dell study, and double the return. A recent study came out saying that women exit a year earlier for more, AKA we're more efficient, just so you know. And then also, because we went off of this traditional path and said we're looking for women, we also have 50% minority-led companies because we were looking for the best deals. And we went out of the typical network. And so that's something I just wanted to illustrate. So I referenced quite a bit of data that you can read, including Harvard Business Review that came out with a recent study. And I think it's something worth reading. And I'd love to hear back from all of you. It's gotten a really great response. A couple trolls, but there's always a troll. And like, what would you talk about if there wasn't a troll? But most of the trolls are really upset because I swore in the headline. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know my grandmother would be like turning over in her grave. I feel bad about it. But like, if anyone knows anything about media, you need a killer headline. And truly, that's how I feel. So that's what I would say. But please read it. And thank you so much for bringing it up.
Of course, and I'll reiterate the title for the audience just to emphasize on the trolls. Investing in women is not a fucking charity. Just there you go. So to the trolls out there that were hating on Jesse for that, I've got your back.
I actually love trolls because they challenge you, and you can't just hear all good things all day long. Like you need some real feedback, and like it's helpful sometimes. I just don't like the crazy ones too. It's like, this doesn't even make sense.
Exactly. Well, and also it's the emphasis of it's time. Like this game is over. There's so many great entrepreneurs again worldwide that are building great companies. The opportunities should be plentiful and equal. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are. And we're starting to see that change more than ever here in 2020 and leading into the next year. So a little bit of what you and I were talking about pre-show, where are things today? So we talked a little bit about what you saw and I saw as well in the beginning of the pandemic, which changed probably a lot of our thinking. However, fast forward, here we are about to start Q4, and looking towards 2021. What do you see as the current state of investing and venture capital from your perspective?
It's been interesting because we've had a lot of our investors actually pull their money out of the public markets because they are astronomically high, which doesn't happen every day. And so, and I believe one of the words one of my investors used was frothy. They're too frothy. So we've seen a lot of people take cash out of the public markets looking to invest in the private markets like venture capital. And that's been really interesting to me, just to kind of like watch. People are feeling like they're going to make bigger returns. And there is a lot of data around this in the private markets. And so I'm seeing that. I think it'll be really interesting to watch the market over the next couple of years. I, obviously like hope it stays super high, but it is a great time to get money out if you are an investor in the stock market. And then in terms of, so that's sort of market wise, but then in terms of just what I'm seeing as far as trends and what we're excited about investing in, I think COVID, we definitely were spinning for a minute. We paused all new investments and had to just kind of like, get our feet on the ground. And we doubled down on our best performing companies. And then we started doing some new deals more recently. We're looking in 3 verticals that haven't changed too much. So they were all, recession proof, if you will. But I would say one of the verticals that we were planning on going after originally was future of work. So those companies have done really well for us. And now we're looking at future of work with like a really big asterisk next to childcare, a really big asterisk next to ed tech. And so we're very kind of focused on just those are obviously changing by the day. And then look at how like I'm speaking. I used to speak around the world and like on different panels in different states. And now I speak all the time on Zoom. And it's like, this is how we work now. It's crazy. And it's just different. And so I look forward to seeing all of you in person. It's tough not to connect. I hope you're all staying healthy and doing something for yourself outside of your home. I recently realized like I was like working in my bedroom and sleeping in my bedroom. And I was like, this is not healthy. So now I switch up the rooms and I like go for a walk every once in a while. So make sure you guys are all doing that. But yeah, in terms of trends, that's what we're pretty focused on. We're also focused on beauty tech as a vertical, unique beauty plays. Beauty is recession proof. And people are spending an amazing amount of money on beauty right now. And we're looking for just like really unique patentable devices all the way to products of all sorts. And so we're kind of all across the board. And then we're also thinking about like when travel opens up, what's that going to look like? But we're not as seriously investing in that at the moment. We're just trying to figure it out. And we're looking at some new like shipping type companies, autonomous planes, things like that.
Very neat, very neat. And so in going into 2020, how do you think your thesis may change as an investor, or do you think it will? Just because of what you've experienced over the last year, some of the things that the portfolio has experienced, and probably some of the things that you've had in terms of conversations, on both sides of the table. What does that look like for you going into the next year?
I'd say in terms of higher end fashion, we're taking a step back. We're looking more in e-commerce, fashion, and clothing businesses as like more unique plays, products for everybody. I think everyone's taking a step back from any kind of sort of like higher end products in general and needs to make sure that they can offer something to everyone. Everyone's checking their wallets right now and making sure they have the cash they need and figuring out, how to get by. I'm so sorry for all the people out there who've lost their jobs. And, I'm hoping that our companies, build quickly so they can start hiring all of you up again. When I look back at the 2008 recession, which we've studied, and I'm sure you've studied just endlessly, although this is very different. Like we can't talk to people. It's just very different. I've been studying that, and you look at all of the biggest tech companies today that are still thriving, and those all came out of 2008. And so we're really just thinking a lot about what those next problem solving companies will be in technology, and in 10 years, what those will be. So that's how we think.
Awesome. Well, as we come to close here, Jesse, just a few more rapid fire fun questions for you is, in terms of the future of work, is there anything aside from childcare and ed tech that you're really excited about or really looking for? Call it shameless promotion, call out to companies that may be building in a space that you are interested in that area.
I do like women's health. I like femtech products. We have a great company called Flex, a menstrual disc. They're doing incredibly well. They acquired 2 other products, and you can find them everywhere. They're distributed on Amazon as well as CVS, Target, wherever, Walgreens. And so I love that company as an example because it's an alternate tampon device. We sold a tampon company to P&G last year for $100 million, and it was the first organic tampon company. And now we're seeing a lot of those pop up. So I'm less interested in those, much more interested in like alternate tampon devices, alternate devices for women. Like there's a lot of opportunity in this space, from breast pumps to just all sorts of women health products. We're lacking them. We need more innovative products. So I'm very interested in that space. Really, really big market with a lot of white space. I'm also, something I'm just incredibly passionate about is we invested in a company called Hop Skip Drive, and it is an Uber type service for families and childcare, safer transportation, the only service that fingerprints their drivers. And they started working with the LA City foster care system. As a foster child, you are essentially property of the government. No one should be property of the government. That's another issue I'd love to talk to you about sometime. But in order for you to go anywhere, school or otherwise, you have to have government paid for and provided transportation. That opened up this whole world of thought to me. They have since launched in 10 plus cities across the country, providing transportation for the foster care systems and so much more. And the government is a bigger customer than the Fortune 500 companies combined. And I'm sure all of you who live in the United States as well as internationally can attest, there is a lot of inefficiency of the government. Dare I get into the debate from last night? I won't.
We're gonna hold off that one. We're gonna hold off that one.
But I would love to solve these problems with consumer dollars. And what I've realized is women are very focused on solving these problems and making billions of dollars while they do it. So Joanna McFarlane really from Hop Skip Drive really opened my mind to this. So we more recently invested in a company called Binti, run by an incredible girl, Felicia, who wanted to put adoption online. And that also is just a complete mess. A lot of crime, lack of transparency, huge issues within that. And I don't even like to call adoption an industry, but it is, and we need to fix it. And so she found that the place to kind of like enter this market was she now provides technology for software for all of the social services agencies. And all of the agencies that she worked with last year, providing this software to place 60% more children with adoptive families than ever had been done before, because a lot is still done by hand. Why? We have such great technology. It's there, it exists. We just need to like plug it in. So I look at the government as an enormous opportunity. That said, we are focused on consumer facing companies, but I do love when you sell to a municipality. So I think there's a lot of childcare opportunity there. There's a lot of problems to be solved. And I'm like, the government's not doing it for themselves. Let's see if we can help. So that's something that I'm just really incredibly passionate about.
That's awesome. Those are great companies to our audience. Definitely check them out. We'll drop those names in the show notes as well for you. But definitely reach out if you're interested in any of those companies. And Jesse, as we come to close, any last closing thoughts? Any piece of advice you want to throw out to the world? And I'll give you a chance to shout out the fund. So don't throw that in there just yet. But anything else you want to give to the entrepreneurs or to the investors out there that maybe their first time investing, writing their first $1,000 check or more or less as well. And then we'll get to the shout outs.
Yeah, I think I would just say, we invest in women to make an enormous profit. And so we're looking to do that. I would encourage more of you to invest in women or make sure that there's women on your boards. There's a lot of great technologies where you can collect the data on diversity and women within your organization and just really start thinking about that and setting goals. It's not so simple as like, oh, we hire the best person for the job, because you actually have to reach outside of your network to change what the diversity, both gender and race, looks like within your company. It's actually, you have to go find new communities of people. So I would encourage you to do that within your corporation and company, and just think about that if you're an early stage founder as well. And then also, if you're a woman, put your money to work. Don't be afraid. Stop giving it all to charity. Yes, give to charity. Like it's a good thing to do, but also invest it. Invest it, take risk with your money, buy some Bitcoin, invest in venture capital, invest in the stock market, just take some risk with your capital. Now, men, I'm not leaving you off the hook here. You need to champion women, champion them in the boardroom, champion your daughters. Your daughters, you should be teaching all about money, talking about money, making them buy their first stock, whatever it is. And also just encouraging and teaching them to invest. Don't feel like you can't talk to women about money. Like, I think a lot of men are like, oh, but my daughter likes shopping and whatever. And like, these are real things I've heard. I'm not just making that up. Yeah. That is the wrong way to look at it. Like, teach your daughter how to invest, not just your son. So women, put your money to work, and men, teach your daughters how to invest.
I love it. With that, Jesse, thank you so much for joining us here on VCTV. But this is your moment now. Shout out to the world where they can find you, they can find Halogen, and where they can pitch you and why, or what industries you're looking for. So this is all you.
So yes, Halogen Ventures, halogenvc.com. You can cold pitch us through the website. I've also taken pitches through LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. You can also email me, and that's Jessie@halogenvc.com. That is my real email address. I know how crazy it sounds, but I like to be very, very accessible. I think that's incredibly important as a venture capitalist. We don't want to miss anything. We want to see your deal and make sure that we're not missing the next billion-dollar unicorn. So send us your deals, pitches, etc., and and keep us posted on your progress. And good luck launching all your companies out there. And halogenvc.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jesse. Greatly appreciate, again, you joining us here on VCTV. Everyone in our audience, definitely check out Jesse and her fund, Halogen VC. You can find her and the fund online 24/7, 365, as we all are digitally living today. Also, do definitely check out her article. As I said, I will put it in the show notes for everyone to read, and we've also shared it socially. So do go on to the social interwebs, and you'll easily be able to find it if you haven't already. With that being said, a big thank you to your audience for tuning in. If you like what you heard, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Do reach out if you'd like to be on the show like today, as Jesse was sharing her thoughts and insights about technologies, industries, and regions around the world. We'd love to have you, and entrepreneurs, again, we'd love to have you on the show to join us on the virtual stage to pitch Jesse and myself and or other investors as well, including our live audience. Again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Emmanuel and LATOKEN, for making VCTV possible. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Jesse, thank you for being the rock star you are. Have an outstanding day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.